So I know you guys are going to think this funny, but last year I got a client that came in that had a problem with the IRS. He owed the IRS on his platform with the IRS at the irs.gov. He owed $287,000. And so what had happened was he was a truck driver and he had a company. And when he worked for this company, he did all of the deliveries and everything. And so at the end of the year, I think that he got a 1099 for about $400,000 or $500,000. But the company put the 1099 under his social security number instead of the business EIN number. So he went and he got his taxes done, and he filed his business taxes, which was set up as a S Corp, and then he had the K1 go over to his personal, and he paid his taxes or got a refund. I can't remember exactly how it was, but he did file his taxes. Then he got a letter saying that he owed them 200 and I think it was like 230,000. All of the rest of it was interest and penalties. And he called them and he said, I don't owe you that. And then he looked at his 1099, and the 1099 did have his personal name and his social. So he went and paid a CPA to get the situation fixed. And he told me before he came that he paid them all of this money and nothing was ever done. And he didn't understand how to get it fixed or whatever. And so he really didn't have any trust in anyone else. So he came to me, I looked at the situation, and so then I said, okay, I will have him I had him fill out the power of attorney. I called the IRS to represent him, and so they put him on my platform. When I talked to the IRS, I explained to them the situation. But while I was explaining, I said, oh, I know exactly what I have to do. And so the agent, the IRS agent said, well, you do? I said, yes. She said, what do you need to do? I said, I first need to call the company that he worked for, and they need to do an amended 1099 and put 0 under his name and then put the income under the business name, and I said, and then once they do that, then I need to amend both the business and the personal taxes because both of them had the wrong numbers on it. And I really didn't understand where the other CPA had got the numbers, but I said I needed to amend it. So after I explained it to the agent, she said, wow, you're exactly right. Usually people that call don't know exactly what to do. So I said, I know what I have to do. So I called the company. They said that they had already amended it. They sent it over. And so I sent it to I uploaded it to the IRS, and the IRS said that they had to go through the process where it went through the system. So he had manually did it. So then the company, didn't really know what to do. And I said, okay, I'll take care of it. So I actually went in and amended the company's 1099 for him. And then once I did that, it went through the system, fixed that. And then I actually had to amend the taxes, then put the packet together where everything was reconciled. I took the 1099 and all of his invoices for the trucking because it showed what he paid for fuel, storage, all of that stuff. It's on the invoices when you have a truck driver. And a lot of times people just take the 1099 and they file the taxes. But what you should do is you need to report all of his income. So you take the invoices, you apply, like if he made 10,000 in a week, you put the 10,000 on there, then you put the fuel that he paid for, then you put, you know, any commissions like tolls, all of that is listed, insurance, everything is listed on that invoice, and you have to put it in the accounting system to show all of his income, and so that when you do the tax return, it all makes sense. The IRS sees everything. So I put all of that together, and then I sent it into the IRS. Well, I tell this story because it took us like almost that full year, you know, because we have been dealing with this since last year. And we get a call from him last week on Thursday. And he said he had received the refunds from all of those years because they have been taking his refund every year because he owed that money from 2018 or something like that. That's how old the debt was. So he called us on Thursday, and he was so happy because he got the refund. They cleared it off of his personal, and he still had a debt on his business, but he was so happy because he had paid so much money to get it fixed. And he came to me, and with my persistence and me just calling and making sure, you know, that it was cleared up. It finally was cleared up, and he wants to bring us dinner next week or lunch to the office for the whole staff because he was so happy.